The Eclipse horizon drifted silently through the void, its sleek hull glinting in the dim light of a distant star. Commander Nathan Hale stood on the bridge, arms crossed, gazing out at the endless expanse. His crew was seasoned, disciplined, and accustomed to the monotony of deep space exploration. But this day was different. A faint distress signal had pierced the quiet, emanating from a derelict craft floating several clicks off their starboard bow. "Lieutenant Carter, status on the signal?" Nathan asked, his voice calm but edged with curiosity. Ryan Carter, his second-in-command, tapped briskly at his console. "Still faint, sir, but consistent. It's an alien signature. No matches in the database. Scans indicate minimal power and signs of life." Nathan's brow furrowed. Life out here was a rarity. "How many?" "Hard to say," Carter replied. "The readings are faint. Could be interference from the ship's damaged systems." Dr. Adrian Cole, the ship's medic, leaned in from his station, his sharp features illuminated by the pale glow of his monitor. "If there's life on board, they could be in critical condition. We need to act fast." Nathan nodded, his decision made. "Prep the shuttle. Carter, Cole, you're with me. If there's anyone alive on that ship, we're bringing them back." The shuttle glided through the dark, its thrusters barely audible. The derelict vessel loomed ahead, a skeletal silhouette against the void. Its hull was battered, scarred with what looked like weapon fire. As they docked, Nathan's instinct sharpened. Whatever had happened here, it hadn't been peaceful. Inside, the air was thin and cold, the ship's life support systems barely functioning. Nathan led the way, his flashlight cutting through the gloom. The corridors were eerily silent, save for the distant hum of failing machinery. "Over here," Carter called, his voice low. They found them in a storage bay, 5 small, huddled figures. The creatures were unlike anything Nathan had seen. Their translucent, scaled skin shimmered faintly, and their large, luminous eyes darted toward the humans with a mixture of fear and desperation. They were small, barely reaching Nathan's waist, and their fragile frames suggested youth. "They're just children," Cole whispered, stepping forward cautiously. One of the creatures let out a soft, warbling cry, clutching a smaller one that appeared unconscious. Nathan raised a hand to stop Cole. "Careful. We don't know how they'll react." "They're terrified," Cole said, his voice steady but insistent. "And this one's unresponsive. If we don't act now, it might not survive." Nathan hesitated for a moment before nodding. "Do what you can. Carter, secure the area. We don't know if there's anyone or anything else on board." Cole approached slowly, his medkit open. The conscious creatures recoiled at first, but didn't resist as he examined the unresponsive one. "Severe dehydration and hypoxia," he muttered. "I need to get it back to the ship." The others began to chirp anxiously, their cries growing louder as Cole gently lifted the unconscious child. Nathan crouched, his tone firm but calm. "We're here to help." He wasn't sure if they understood, but his voice seemed to soothe them. As they retreated to the shuttle, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The derelict ship's silence felt heavy, oppressive. Yet, they made it back without incident. The alien children clinging to each other as they were brought aboard the Eclipse horizon. Once on the ship, the children were placed in the medical bay. Cole worked tirelessly, stabilizing the unconscious one while the others watched warily. Nathan observed from the control room, his mind racing. Who were these beings? What had happened to them? And, most importantly, what would happen next? The answer came sooner than expected. "Commander, incoming transmission," Carter said, his voice tense. Nathan turned to the comm station. "Source?" Carter's fingers flew over the controls. "An alien vessel, much larger than the derelict. They're hailing us." Nathan straightened. On screen, the image that appeared was both imposing and unfamiliar. The alien's face was angular, its dark eyes piercing. Its armor gleamed under artificial light, and its voice, though distorted by the translation software, carried an unmistakable authority. This is Captain Zalcor Vin of the Valari Sovereignty. You have taken what is not yours. Release the younglings immediately, or face annihilation. Nathan kept his expression neutral, his voice steady. Captain Vin, we found these children on a derelict ship. They were in critical condition. We brought them aboard to save their lives. Zalcor's eyes narrowed. Do not insult me with lies, human. The Valari do not abandon our own. Your actions are an act of war. Nathan clenched his jaw. With all due respect, Captain, we are not your enemy. We acted out of compassion. Compassion? Zalcor's voice dripped with disdain. Your kind spreads through the stars like a plague, consuming all in your path. We know your history. Return the children now, or suffer the consequences. The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in tense silence. They've locked weapons on us, Carter said grimly. Nathan exhaled slowly. Options? None good, Carter replied. We're outgunned. If they fire, we won't last long. In the medical bay, the alien children huddled closer together, their luminous eyes filled with fear. Nathan's resolve hardened. He wouldn't abandon them, but he also couldn't risk his crew. Get Mevin back on the line, he ordered. As the tension mounted, Nathan realized the challenge wasn't just survival. It was trust, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The air in the conference room of the Eclipse Horizon was taut with unease as Nathan Hale paced, his sharp, deliberate steps the only sound in the chamber. His crew awaited orders, their tension visible in every rigid posture. The alien warship loomed just beyond the viewport, its sleek design and glowing weapon arrays a silent reminder of the precarious position they were in. Commander, the Valari captain is refusing all explanations, Lieutenant Ryan Carter reported, his voice clipped. He's demanding an immediate meeting aboard his vessel. He won't negotiate remotely. Nathan stopped mid-step, his expression hardening. Aboard their ship? And they expect me to go alone? He's allowing 2 additional personnel, Carter added. But no weapons, no equipment, nothing that could be perceived as a threat. Nathan's eyes flicked to Dr. Adrian Cole, who stood silently by the comm station. The medic's calm demeanor was a sharp contrast to the tension in the room, but Nathan could see the flicker of worry in his eyes. They're not giving us much of a choice, Cole said quietly. If we don't agree, they'll fire, and we both know we can't withstand their firepower. Nathan nodded. Cole, you're coming with me. Carter, you too. I need someone watching my back, even if it's unarmed. Carter straightened. Understood, sir. I'll notify the Valari of our acceptance. The shuttle ride to the Valari vessel was silent, the hum of the engines the only noise as the trio prepared for the meeting. Nathan sat in the pilot's seat, his expression unreadable. He'd faced hostile negotiations before, but this was different. The stakes weren't just his crew or his mission. They were the lives of the alien children now under his care. The Valari ship was an imposing sight as they approached, its design sleek and almost organic, pulsing faintly with an inner light. It was a stark contrast to the utilitarian lines of the Eclipse Horizon, and Nathan couldn't help but feel a pang of unease as they docked. The shuttle doors opened to reveal a contingent of Valari guards, their shimmering armor casting reflections on the polished floor. Their weapons were holstered but conspicuous, a silent reminder of the power imbalance. Captain Zal Corvin awaited them at the end of the corridor, his towering form radiating authority. Commander Hale, Zalcor said, his voice low and clipped. You will explain yourself. Nathan stepped forward, his posture controlled but assertive. Captain Vin, our only intent was to provide aid. We found the children aboard a derelict vessel. They were dying. We couldn't stand by and do nothing. Zalcor's dark eyes narrowed. The Valari do not leave our own to die, human. You dare to insult us with claims of compassion while holding our younglings captive. We're not holding them captive, Nathan said firmly. They're in our medical bay, receiving care. One of them was critically ill when we found them. Zalcor's lip curled in disdain. Your actions are meaningless without trust, and trust is something your kind has never earned. The stars are littered with the ruins of civilizations crushed under human expansion. Nathan's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice measured. We're not here to expand or conquer. We're explorers, Captain. What happened to those children was a tragedy, and we did what any decent being would do. Zalcor's gaze flicked to Cole, who met it without flinching. And you, the alien captain said, you claim to be a healer, yet your kind's history suggests otherwise. Experimentation, dissection, exploitation. These are the hallmarks of humanity's so-called mercy. Cole stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. I'm a doctor, not a scientist. My only concern is preserving life. If you want proof of my intentions, you're welcome to see the children for yourself. Zalcor's expression remained unreadable, but he didn't respond immediately. The silence stretched heavy and oppressive, until one of the Valari guards whispered something in his ear. Very well, Zalcor said finally. We will review their condition. If there is any sign of harm, I will hold you personally responsible, Commander. The three humans were escorted to a large chamber filled with holographic displays. A live feed from the eclipse horizon appeared in the air, showing the alien children in the medical bay. The smaller ones huddled together on one of the beds, their translucent skin glowing faintly under the ship's lights. The previously unconscious child was now awake, its movements sluggish but steady as it interacted with Cole's medical staff. One of the smaller children reached out to touch a human crew member's hand. The gesture was hesitant, but unmistakably curious. The Valari guards murmured softly, their reactions carefully restrained but evident. Even Zalcor's expression shifted slightly, though he quickly masked it. You see, Nathan said, his tone measured but insistent. We mean no harm. These children are safer with us than they were on that derelict ship. Zalcor turned to face him, his expression hardening again. You claim safety, yet you fail to see the danger your presence brings. The Valari have enemies, Commander. If those children were attacked, it was because of their value to us. And now, by keeping them, you've painted a target on yourselves. Nathan's mind raced. The derelict ship hadn't been a random casualty. It had been attacked, perhaps by the Valari's enemies. And now those same enemies might come for the eclipse horizon. We didn't know, Nathan admitted, but that doesn't change our responsibility. We won't abandon them. Zalcor studied him for a long moment, his gaze piercing. Your resolve is either admirable or foolish, human. Time will tell. Before Nathan could respond, an alarm blared through the Valari vessel. Zalcor barked an order in his native tongue, and the holographic displays shifted to show an approaching fleet of smaller ships. Pirates, Zalcor growled, no doubt drawn here by the same signal you followed. He turned to Nathan, his expression grim. It seems we have a common enemy. If you truly wish to prove your intentions, Commander, you'll help us fend them off. Nathan exchanged a glance with Carter and Cole, both of whom gave subtle nods. We'll do what we can, Nathan said. Zalcor's gaze softened just slightly. Then perhaps there's hope for you yet, human. The tension in the room eased, but only slightly. The coming battle would test more than their military capabilities. It would test whether two vastly different species could find trust in the darkest of circumstances. The battlefield was chaos. Streams of energy lit up the darkness as the pirate fleet descended upon them, their ships sleek and angular, darting in coordinated swarms. The eclipse horizon maneuvered alongside the Valari vessel, their vastly different designs now united in purpose. Nathan Hale stood at the command station, his voice cutting through the noise of alarms and status updates. Lieutenant Carter, keep our shields at maximum capacity. Divert non-essential power if you have to. We're not built for direct combat, so stay close to the Valari ship. Let their weapons do the heavy lifting. Carter's hands flew over the controls. Aye, sir. Shields holding, but they won't last forever. Nathan's gaze flicked to the tactical display. The pirate ships were fast and relentless, but their disorganized formations hinted at desperation rather than strategy. He clenched his fists. They couldn't let these marauders get to the alien children. Commander Hale. Zalcor's voice crackled over the comms, the alien captain's tone cold but steady. Your ship's vulnerability is a liability. Retreat to a safer position and let us handle this. Nathan leaned forward, his voice firm. With all due respect, Captain, I won't abandon my crew or those children. We're in this together. There was a brief pause before Zalcor replied, his words laced with reluctant approval. Very well, human. Prove your worth. The Eclipse Horizon weaved through the firefight, dodging bursts of plasma and returning fire when possible. Dr. Adrian Cole stood in the medical bay, monitoring the alien children. The younglings huddled together, their luminous eyes wide with fear as the ship trembled under enemy fire. It's going to be all right, Cole said softly, his voice calm despite the chaos around him. One of the children, the smallest, stepped closer, its delicate hands reaching out to touch his arm. The gesture was simple, but carried a depth of trust that gave Cole pause. He smiled faintly. You're braver than most of the people I know. A sudden jolt rocked the ship, and the lights flickered. Cole steadied himself, his thoughts racing. The children's safety was paramount, but the situation was growing more precarious by the second. On the bridge, Carter cursed under his breath. Commander, we've got a breach in the starboard power relay. If we don't reroute, we'll lose shields entirely. Do it, Nathan ordered, and tell engineering to seal off the affected section. No casualties. As the battle raged, the Valari vessel unleashed a devastating barrage, its advanced weaponry cutting through the pirate fleet with precision. But the pirates were relentless, their desperation driving them to reckless maneuvers. One ship broke through the Valari line, heading straight for the Eclipse Horizon. They're targeting us, Carter shouted. Nathan's voice was calm but urgent. Bring all weapons to bear. Focus fire on that ship. The Eclipse Horizon's modest arsenal lit up, but it wasn't enough to deter the pirate vessel. It closed the distance rapidly, its weapons charging for a final strike. Before Nathan could react, a beam of light lanced through the void, striking the pirate ship dead center. The vessel erupted in a fiery explosion, its debris scattering harmlessly into space. Confirmed kill, Carter said, his relief evident. Nathan exhaled slowly. Who fired? The comms crackled to life. You owe me nothing, human, Zalcor said, his tone unreadable. But it seems your courage isn't entirely misplaced. The remaining pirates, sensing their defeat, broke formation and fled into the darkness. The battlefield fell silent, the tension dissipating like smoke. Nathan sank into his chair, the weight of the ordeal pressing down on him. Status report? Shields at 20%, Carter said. Minimal damage to critical systems. No casualties. Nathan nodded. Good work, everyone. The comms chimed again, and Zalcor's face appeared on the screen. His expression was still stern, but there was a glint of something in his eyes. Respect, perhaps. Your actions were reckless, Zalcor said, but effective. You've earned the survival of your crew today. Nathan met his gaze. And the children? Zalcor hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his features. You've proven your intentions are not malicious. I will take them into my care. But understand this, Commander Hale. The Valari do not forget acts of honor or betrayal. Nathan inclined his head. Neither do we. The transmission ended, and Nathan rose from his chair. He made his way to the medical bay, where Cole was tending to the children. The smallest one looked up as Nathan entered, its luminous eyes meeting his. They're going to be all right, Cole said quietly. Physically, at least. But I think they trust us now. Nathan crouched down, his voice soft. You're safe now, and you'll stay safe. The smallest child stepped forward, placing a delicate hand on Nathan's chest. It was a simple gesture, but it carried a depth of meaning that words couldn't capture. Minutes later, a Valari transport vessel docked with the Eclipse Horizon. The children were escorted aboard under Zalcor's watchful eye. The alien captain paused before leaving, his gaze meeting Nathan's one final time. "You have defied my expectations, human," Zalcor said. "Perhaps there is hope for your kind yet." Nathan nodded. "And perhaps there's hope for more than that." As the Valari ship disappeared into the void, the Eclipse Horizon returned to its course, the crew settling back into the rhythm of exploration. But something had changed. Nathan stood on the bridge, gazing out at the stars, his thoughts heavy with reflection. "Do you think we'll see them again?" Carter asked, breaking the silence. Nathan didn't look away from the viewport. "Maybe. And if we do, I hope it's under better circumstances." The stars stretched endlessly before them, a reminder of the vast unknown still waiting to be discovered. Despite the conflict, Nathan couldn't help but feel a spark of hope. Trust, fragile and tentative, had been forged in the crucible of battle, and that, he thought, was a victory worth carrying forward.